Hi, this is Anna Imagination. Welcome to the Ethical Asshole. I am your host, the Salty Bitch, and this is my space station. So, I was up at last night from like 11 a.m. to 2-ish working and had this massive like epiphany of all the sciences merging together. And I'm just going to cut right to it. It's all diabetes. It's the same pattern in diabetes, just on repeat. Fun fact, in America is the only place where Alzheimer's is still referred to as Alzheimer's. The rest of the world calls it diabetes 3. And there's a lot going on with the brain that keeps coming back to homeostasis, regulation, and the input, the output. That 100% just is a diabetes on repeat. And that same thing is inside of our cells. That's the same. I'm going to call it the diabetes pattern. That's probably the best way for it. It's the diabetes pattern. It's a mathematical pattern. It is the mathematical pattern that matches diabetes. And I noticed this in psychological physics where I went, okay, it's just mental diabetes. So I'm going mental diabetes, diseases diabetes, diabetes part 3. And then you've got atomic health. And that is that same pattern over and over again. So the pattern is also in physics. It's electrical physics. You have an input, you have an output, and you have a regulator. The regulator is supposed to regulate your input output so that your output never exceeds your input. That is the purpose of the regulator. But if you break the regulator or you don't have a regulator, your input then is lower or less than your output. You end up putting out more than you have. Now you get into scarcity, you get into depletion, you get into malnourishment. And this pattern is literally in everything. It is in economics, it is in relationships, it is in energy, growth, biology, chemistry, physics, you name it, it's there. And it is 100% linked to the life formula. And it's basically the life formula that's been broken. So you have the life formula, and that life formula is literally in every science and art in existence and everything. And then you've got this diabetes formula, and that is showing up in everything. So this is something I've been working on Lab QED with, where we're sitting here going through all the different, we're looking at the biology, the physiology, we're bringing it together with psychology. And we found, again, we have a health that focuses on input. That would be your mental health. You have your health, which focuses on output, your biological health. And then you've got your regulator health, which is your atomic health. But you probably have never heard of atomic health, have you? No one has. And that's because that is the regulator of our healths. So you have our health A, health B, and then you've got the atomic health, which is the regulator. So in our work in the lab, we discovered atomic health. And when we tied this in, there's the regulator. But because no education is out there on the regulator, no one is able to regulate their mental health. And as a result, the mental health, the input is now less than the biology, the physiology, which is your output. So now your body is putting out more via your DNA and RNA and chemicals and hormones than your mental health is drawing in to nourish that. Isn't that interesting? So when you plug in atomic health, which is what our science does, when you plug in, actually science does not do anything. Science just translate what Mother Nature's doing. So when we plug in this missing information, it balances the whole thing out. That's how you get balance, is you've got this input, this output, and they have to be equal to each other. What you really want is more input than output, and that will give you a surplus. Now you have abundance. And that is exactly what abundance is when your input is more than your output. That way you can feed and nourish your output on par with your growth. That's when you have growth. So I woke up this morning and I looked at all of this, and I'm looking at finance. I'm looking at mental health. Mental health, we already figured that out. That's an old hat. So we know it's mental diabetes. And we have the algorithm for that. We know how to plug that in. And we plug that in using logic. Now, in the physiology, you plug that in using physics. So now the question we're dissecting is, do you need logic, or can you go right to physics? What would be easier? I believe you need both. I'm looking at the data going, we need both. We're going to need physics to stabilize, but then it's just going to go right back to the way it was. And what you need is logic and that understanding so you can maintain, so it becomes a maintenance point from there and on. So first you have to reset, and resetting you have to hit the reset button, which we have found, and we're working on the reset button now. And then from there, What I'm talking about is an insulin shot. That's what I'm talking about. We are looking in the lab about this insulin shot, this literally all-in-one insulin shot. And it's not really insulin, but it works the exact same way, where it completely nourishes. And then from there, it goes out. And once it goes out, it's okay, now the user needs to be educated on how to regulate and manage their system. So let's take diabetes literally as an example here. It's like you correct someone's diabetes. You get them where they need to be. They're stable. They don't need their own insulin anymore. Their body can produce it. But if they're using a diet, and I'm talking like type 2 diabetes, I'm not talking type 1. So if you have somebody who then turns right around and they continue the bad diet, they continue indulging on the wrong foods, and that's what later triggers type 2 diabetes. They have once again messed up the regulation, and they've got diabetes again. It comes back. So it's a matter of going, okay, you can reset it all you want, but if they don't have the education to manage it's literally regulation management, literally your regulator maintenance. And if you don't have regulator maintenance, you're not going to be okay. And that's where the logic comes in. So the logic is your regulator maintenance. And then after that, you have your actual health and everything's working fine. So we're looking at how we're going to do this. And, I messaged the lab last night and I'm like, so all we have to do is literally create an insulin shot for the world. Now we have COVID that we learned from. So that is one of our favorite things to study, is the psychological abuse and the sociological effects of COVID. But the way we look at it is, so what is everything we did do wrong with COVID? And one of the things we did wrong was let's force everyone to do this. Now, the reason why this is a problem is because when you force someone to do something, you sell them, you manipulate them, you bribe them. And look at that. We did all of this with COVID. There were bribes happening. There were lies, persuasions. This creates distrust. So we're learning from this. We're looking at that going, yeah, we don't want that. And it's all because the government thought that they needed to force people, because they were like, well, instead of educating people, they forced them. And this is a theme in the government where we're not going to educate you because that would contradict their other problem. And they're like, well, if we educate them, then they'll be smart enough to realize what we're doing. So they won't educate you. They'll sell to you instead. Sell is what the manipulator does. Education is what honest, ethical people do. So it's 100% your choice. We have an insulin shot. Bottom line, it's not literally an insulin shot. It is education to provide you with the manual on how to maintain your regulator. That's all it is. And now we're just condensing it into this gorgeous little package. It's free. And it's going to be there. That way you guys can get the regulator, which is equivalent to your insulin shot. And then we have the physics that's going to be plugged in to do A, B, C. And we can give you that information as well once that comes up. So that's literally resetting the human race. That's like hitting reset. And it's going to be very much one of those options of it's there if you guys want it. So I'm looking now at this insulin, and it needs another name. I don't know what to call it, but this is the work I was doing this morning. So, and I also had another wonderful, like, holy fucking shit moment. Is I'm sitting here reverse engineering magic, and I'm looking at that. I was between. So my science is the science beyond science. There's the science after science. So you have the arts, and then you have the language communication department, theater, stage, and then you have science. And then there's a whole science field beyond that science. And we are 4 sciences above biology. Biology, you don't get higher than biology. No matter what the chemists say, you don't get higher than biology. Biology is the integration of all the sciences into one. So you have, I love biology. I really love biology. It's amazing. So beyond biology, you have new sciences. And then you get into the interdisciplinary sciences. And this is what I call academic discipline cooking. There's 18 disciplines total. And let's just shove those over here. So then there's this world after science. And this is what I call Jediology. So in philosophy, we have 3 studies that we know of. And then we have found a 4th. So there is existentialism, metaphysics, ontology. And in ontology, you find out that it's ontological physics. It's just physics. So you have existentialism, and then you have metaphysics, then you have ontological physics, and then you have Jediology. Jediology is all the science that's past biology, and it covers this whole region. So we're sitting here dabbling, and well, we're dabbling. Oh, we're more than dabbling. So we're doing all this really awesome stuff over here in this science. And that's where we're merging the psychological physics. That's where we found atomic health. We're bringing atomic health into it. And then we're bringing physiology, and we're merging them all together. And we're going, okay, now let's get this integrated into one unit. And that's what we're doing now is we are composing a medicine. It's not a medicine. Medical. There's no word for this thing. Biology. Health. A health. It's a health science. That's a good right there. I think we found it. It is literally health science. I think we found it. I think we found it. And it takes all the components from biology before, the pre-biology, but it also incorporates all the post-biology into it. So health science. And what we're doing with it's health and life science, really. And we're merging health and life science. I love that. Health and life science. I got to write that down. And we've actually we've built it into a course, and it's going into our homeschooling. So we're going to be teaching this to children, and it's health and life science. I feel like again, there's should be a third one there, but for now we're going to keep it health and life science. And so we have that project going, our health and life science, and we're working on. We got power economics over here. We're working out finance, and we're working out resourcefulness, and that's all part of it. And it comes into these 4 fruits. The fruit pursuit. And the fruit pursuit is when you have yourself that you have to define. You're literally shaping the self, and that is a journey. And then you have your dream that you are building, and you have to build yourself before you can build your dream. Now you're going to have a dream while you're in the early stages of self-building, and that dream is going to reflect that version of yourself. So as you grow yourself, your dream is going to change. It's amazing. And this is where I'm at. I got to a point where, okay, here's my dream. And I shifted. And when I shifted, I got to that point where I went, okay, my dream just changed again. And that's when I went, no, this is not going to work. This is not work because I need a common denominator. We all need constants because it can't be shifting every 5 minutes. Which means my business was not stable. And I went, well, if my business wasn't stable, which it's not going to be until you get to this point. So I went, and this is the problem. You'll shift and then your business won't be valid. And then you'll shift again and your business and your career won't be valid. You'll shift again. So you feel like you have to keep rebuilding a new business every time you have a massive epiphany. And believe me, I've been through 50 fucking epiphanies. So I'm sitting here going, all right, I can't do this anymore. So yesterday I spent the whole day, let's sit down and let's analyze this. And what I did was I found the common denominator of all of my dreams, which is this ship, this pirate ship right here. And I'm like, there it is. It's my pirate ship. So I went, I'm a pioneer. And that is like the foundation of all of this. Now I can change all the colors, the decor. So if you think of it as interior design, versus your actual business, your actual dream. And a lot of people will focus on the interior design. And then when they redecorate, they're literally deconstructing their entire cabin in the woods. You can't do that. You'll have to restart the business. And you see this with people where they're like, oh, well, I built a business when I was 20 and now I'm 30 and I rebuilt the business, but I carried those people over. This is somebody who is not at all stable in their defined dream. Because the dream is the common denominator of all of those dreams. You're not going to get here until you're at least 50 plus ethical shifts. So once you find that common denominator of all your dreams, the one thing that never changes, you have found your constant, your dream constant. So then you build off of the dream constant, and that's what you want to sell. That's what you are supposed to be like, all right, this is what I want. So I noticed that in everything I do, it comes down to the space station, my pirate space station. And I'm like, all right, so it's definitely the entertainment. It's definitely the theater stage. And it's this variety weird show that I've got. And I realized last night, I can't be out of make-believe anymore. I cannot believe, I can't do it anymore. I have got to be 100% in make-believe from now on. So I am a captain of a ship. And I'm officially in the world of make-believe all the time. And, you know, I messaged my partner about this and I'm like, I can't step out of story anymore. I don't think we're supposed to. I do not believe we are supposed to be out of story. I'm sitting here studying atomic health and mental health and physiology health. And I'm looking at all of it going, we are not supposed to be out of make-believe ever. This right here, it's that moment when we are told, you're 8 years old, you have to grow up. Let's kill your dreams. That is like the death of humanity right there. That's when it happens. And then when we get to this point in our spiritual journey, we're in this moment. And I think that's what I need to clarify. I never went on a spiritual journey. I went on an ethical journey. And that's the difference. And I think that's where I'm different, is everyone's going, oh, spirituality. I'm going ethicology. Ooh, I like that. Ethicology. Well, we already have a name for that. It's called philosophy. So for me, I'm going, yeah, it wasn't a spiritual journey for me. It was an ethical journey. And that's really the difference. This was another realization I had last night. Was I posted this and on TikTok where I was talking about what I'm just going to read it to you, because this is like, it was just this massive, like, oh, that's really what I need for, this is it right here. And let me see here. Let me see here. Okay, so the 12 core ethics revolve around the 3 ethical pillars, which are the laws of nature. This is your nourish, your growth, your freedom. That's really, really important. Nourish, growth, freedom. Those are it right there. That is the diabetes formula. Nourish, growth, freedom. 100% of all mental illness stems from the obstruction of these laws. Input, output, regulate. It's the same thing. That's it right there. All right, so here it is. I have to live in make-believe now. I can't leave the stories. It hurts too much for me. And you know what? I don't think human beings ever were meant to live outside of story. I think living in make-believe and story is our true state of being. This is where our true magic lies, in manifestation. And when you will for the delusion of reality without magic, well, that is exactly what you get. And that explains, reality and all that bullshit that is out there with the system. And when you go onto the ethical journey, it's the realization of, this is where we need to direct this path. That is not the quote I was looking for, and I realize that now. And I'm like, no, that's not what I was trying to say. Here it is. Okay, so the hardest part of my work and my mission is teaching ethics to others. This is not done because of the ethical pride paradox. Ethics say, don't brag, humble. Pride says, look what I did. And ethics says, teach others. Ethics also says, don't draw attention to yourself. So most people who get to this point become silent sages, but then others don't learn. 8th ethic, you talk. I was doing a lot of research in monks and that lifestyle. And I love Jay Shetty. I love Jay Shetty. He's figured out what I have figured out. He and I both did the monk lifestyle. We both went into the same mindset, the same study. And in the show Numbers, one of the physicists also goes into a monastery. And there's a moment where he says, yeah, they don't like me here. And that line is really subtle. But when you've studied the monk lifestyle, you realize what that is. Monks are catty. They are very prejudiced of, this is our world, this is our lifestyle, we don't want you here. And it's very anti-monk. But when you get there and you study it, you go, oh, they're like a bunch of valley girls. And it's interesting. Here's the other thing, and this is why Jay Shetty left. They don't grow. They've hit the 7th ethic and they said, well, here we are, this is good enough. That's why they have taken the vow of silence. The vow of silence is the extreme indulgence of only embracing the 7th ethic. The 8th ethic is talk, transmit. The 9th ethic is now integrate the balance between talking and silence into a conversation, so you receive sharing. Sharing is the 9th ethic, which is getting into the culture, hi people, and sharing what you know. That's the 9th ethic. Monks don't do that. They isolate, they completely shut themselves off from the world, and they hoard their wisdom, which violates the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th ethic. Which is why Jay Shetty left, is he said, I wasn't growing. I wasn't either. When I got to that point with my studies where I realized I was done with the silent lifestyle, I was done with the Buddhist lifestyle, I went, oh my God, you reach this point of growth where you exceed the Buddha. And you're going, this is wrong. So you exit stage left because if you want to grow, you have to leave because they won't let you grow. Just like the Christian religion, which has you stuck at the second ethic. So the Christian religion has you at the second ethic. The Buddha has you at the seventh ethic. And then they cut you off and they say, no more growing. And I have to clarify, Christ does not do that. The Christian religion does that. So that's why, by the way, Christ went and told it on a mountain, is because he got to the ninth ethic. So I'm sitting here looking at it. Christ got he got to the 12th ethic, which is why he talked about forgiveness. So I'm looking at all of this going, okay, so we're here with this. We're all the way over here now. And I'm on this ethical journey. And I'm going, how do I do this? And it's been a real battle. Here it is. Yeah, I didn't finish the quote. Yeah. So eighth ethic talk. So many wealthy people slip into silence, leaving the poor uneducated and left behind in squalor. Leaving the poor uneducated, and they left behind the poor in squalor. But my ethics say teach others. But I've been called braggart and arrogant because of this. But I did not give up. How do you teach the ethics when the student believes it's conceit? And that's it. This is really what I learned is when you step forward to teach the ethic, we've been conditioned to associate talking about ethics with being ethical. This is extraordinary because Keanu Reeves is a great example of this. Keanu Reeves is considered one of the most ethical persons in the world, and he is. And he never talks about himself, which is part of the ethics. And he also doesn't teach anyone either. He just does by example. Now, that is the ethics. But if he's not telling you that he's setting the example, how do you know he's setting the example? Now, some people, very few, have figured it out, and they've started to mirror Keanu Reeves. There's a few people out there, what would Keanu do? And I do a lot of psychological work on him. I'm looking at him going, I love studying him. I'm like fascinating. And it's really interesting to see. It's just fascinating. So it's not his calling. That's how I view it. He is doing for him what he needs to do for him. And he has chosen the best for him. And he is truly an ethical man. He is not a teacher. But if you are a teacher, now I'm looking at it going, well, now what do you do? Because now, and I'm ethically on about. So when you get to a certain point with the ethics, there is this moment where you become a teacher. You have no choice. It's part of you understand the value of this information so much that you say, this does not belong in my head. This belongs in the world. So you go into the world and you pass it. And Christ was there. That's what Christ was doing, is this is too valuable. You get this out there. And what he did, I believe it's called a peripatetic school. I got to take a look at this. I want to make sure I get this word right. It's called a walking school. It is a type of philosophy school that Aristotle had. La, 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 la. I want to say it's a peripatetic. I really think it's a peripatetic school. But I want to, yeah, peripatetic. A peripatetic, Peripatetic, peripatetic school. It's a walking school. This is what Aristotle did with his Lyceum. Christ had a peripatetic school where you go tell it on the mountain, where you get your butt out into the masses and you talk. Technically, I'm a peripatetic school, but I have social media. So I have the advantage that Aristotle and Christ did not have. And I'm so lucky. I'm so fortunate. So this is a modern day peripatetic school. That's what this is. It's a walking school. Isn't this great? I'm right here in your face. This is amazing. So I'm sitting here like, and here's this. You have the ethical code of life. And this is the common denominator of life when you decide to do the ethical journey. And you're sitting here going, okay, I got the ethics. Now, how do I educate people in the ethics? Ethically. And everything you do has to be ethically. So the epiphany that I had yesterday was, here's love, and this is in the cognitive core. Here's love, here's the ethics. This is a really, really huge part of the cognitive core's algorithm. Same thing with this one. This is really complex. This one's really complex. Like, I have a forged page abstract to explain the mathematics of this part of the algorithm. This is fucking complex. This one is really amazing. It's my favorite part. It is referred to as the logical and the belief system. This one is gorgeous. And this is where all of our mental illness develops, right here. This is where the abuser's door exists. And then you've got the summation of the name right here. This is our name calling. This is our labels. This is how we define ourselves. And this is the summation of these three things. So the self is made, there's that three again. The self is made up of the identity, which is what you love. I'm going to go up here. Identity, which is what you love. I love that it's like a 5. This is the cognitive core. I love that. Okay, so you have love, your identity, how you define yourself. And then you have your ethics. And then you have, my finger is not broken. It grew that way because I'm a pianist and I have been since I was 4 years old. So my finger was never broken. This is evolution because I grew into the piano as it was shaped. Isn't this fucking amazing? I see it every time. I'm like, oh, look at that. Yeah, this is from piano playing because when I was 4 years old. So it's so fucking cool. Yeah, I gotta get my fingers right here. Okay, you can tell I'm a Trekkie, right? Okay, so and then this one is your logical belief system. So when you combine these three things together, you have the self. When you summarize it into definition, this is your name. Now this then summarized becomes your perspective reality. That is what we're looking at. Really, really cool. So this is your cognitive core. This is literally the mathematical formula that is at the heart of your mental health. You get this set up, you get this balanced, and you're going to be fine. That's your mental health. This is your AIDNS, your abstract intradimensional navigational system. Can we hear her? She's like, meow. Yeah, my cat is, I love the way cats yowl when they wander. It sounds like they're pining in the forest. Oh, I'm in the desert all alone. Ah, like this is what it sounds like. I don't know if anyone else has cats. And there she goes running. And they'll be like running off, and then they'll go off into an empty part of the house, and they'll pine, they'll yowl like, ah. And it sounds like they're lost alone in the desert. Where am I? It's just this existential sound that they make. I love it so much. So now she's racing herself back and forth. I like to think she's playing with the spiritual energies. So cats are great. No, I'm lost. And then she runs the other way. This cat. So her name is Spriggan to boot. Her name is Spriggan. Like that's just like the icing on the cake. Her name is Spriggan. So I'm thinking about things. The cat distracted me because when that happens, I'm just game over, right? So with the ethical journey, I'm looking at this going, I can only talk about what I know. And wow. I can only talk about, we all can only talk about what we know. And I had a lot of people going, well, you need to meet people where they're at. No, that is wrong. You do not meet people where they're at. You never do that. That is the problem. You never meet people where you're at. I have a lot to say about meeting people where they're at. You don't meet people where they're at. When you meet people where they're at, you are self-sacrificing. You become a martyr. You are now masking and molding yourself to fit into something that doesn't belong to you. When you people please, you're meeting people where they're at. When you blend into a group so you can be approved by somebody and you are now talking to people who are not meant for you, you are meeting people where they're at. You are not supposed to meet people where they're at. That is the most toxic advice out there. Throw it away. You are not supposed to meet people where that. You are supposed to show up as yourself every time, as I am. So meeting people where they're at opposes as I am philosophy. I only do as I am philosophy. As I am philosophy. Oh yeah, as I am philosophy. This is, if I were to summarize all of my work and everything into a philosophy, I would call it as I am philosophy. And it is, it truly is. And as I am philosophy is, this is me. And I am at the 58th ethical perspective level of consciousness. I'm going to show up as the 58th level of consciousness. And I went through this massive stage where people were like, oh, no, you need to humble yourself. You're too arrogant. That is where you are. I went through that stage too. That's the seventh ethical perspective, where you need to humble yourself into the dirt. Been there, done that. I lived there for literally 20 ethical perspectives. Been there. But then after you get out of it, and that is one of your trials. And then you get out of that trial and you realize, oh, that was just an extreme indulgence over there of extreme humility and humbleness. And this is where Keanu is. And that's okay. This is his growth trial. He is in the, I'm going to lower myself and put myself into this humble position. And he's doing it ethically. He's doing it exactly. This is his growth trial. When you get out of this stage, you realize there is a moment in this stage where you realize, and he's meditating. He is cocooned. That's really where he is. He has cocooned himself. He is going through the ethical trials, and he has completely cocooned himself, and he's closed. And I remember when I was there, I was closed for 20 perspectives. And then you reach a point where you understand the value of what you've learned, and you realize it is a dishonor and a lack of ethics, eighth ethic, to say nothing. You are obligated to speak up. And that's where you step out of the silent cocoon stage. You shed, I remember when I shed my skin. That was so hard. When was that? Let me think of the date. It was September. It was July 2024. That is when I went through the cocoon stage. And August 1st, yeah, the cocoon stage was like hell. I'll have to go back on that and figure out. Yeah, August 1st is when I finally shed the cocoon, and I was like, I would call that born again. Like, holy fucking shit. Yeah, that is reincarnation there, that is. And that was, I have to go back and find out which, okay, so let me do the math. It wasn't the point of comprehension. Yeah, it was the end of the fourth round. So it was when I stepped into the fifth round. Yeah, it was when I stepped into the fifth round. August, September, October. Yeah. No, August. So August was the starting point of origin. So September, October, November. Right on. Yep. Yeah. Right on. Right on schedule. Yeah. You go through the 12 ethics every 3 months. Once you are caught up, once you are aligned. Prior to that, you don't. You have to get caught up. You have to align yourself with Mother Nature's growth. Mother Nature's growth is 12 ethics every 3 months, 1 ethical perspective shift every week. That is her schedule. If you're not aligned to her schedule, you're not doing the work. You're not growing. You've got a lot of repair work. And that's where a lot of people are, is they're preparing for the ethical journey and they haven't stepped into it yet. Because once you step into it and you catch up, that's when you'd be like Keanu Reeves. There you go. That's when you'd be like Keanu. And way too many people are not like Keanu, which is how I know you guys aren't. No, you guys aren't. Keanu's a great example where I can go, that dude is at the 7th perspective. I can tell you right now, he is at the 7th. That is what the 7th looks like. There you go. There you go. That's what it looks like. That is true awakening. That's what we're talking about. He's not woke. He's not doing that weird spiritual shit. He's doing his own goddamn thing. He's on the fucking journey. And that's why he's so quiet and shut down. Well, he's not shut down. He's reserved. And that's the 7th ethic. He's going to be there for literally an entire round of ethics. And then when he's done, he's going to come out and he's going to be like me. He's going to come out and he's going to be do his own version of himself, but he's going to be talking about it. Jim Carrey's there as well. Jim Carrey is like me. Jim Carrey's figuring it out. I love this because I actually can hand you 2 examples and go, there you go. Jim Carrey is in it. Jim Carrey has figured it out. It's not spiritual. It's ethical. Big difference. Big difference. So if you want to see what this looks like, you've got Jim Carrey and you've got Keanu Reeves. And Jim Carrey is more teaching about it. He's more, I'm going to sit down and talk about it. Keanu is in the cocoon and he's going to be there for a while. And then he's going to come out and he's going to talk much more about it. So you have Jim and then you've got Keanu. And after those stages, then you talk about it, but you're still trying to stabilize. Well, you've stabilized yourself. When Keanu comes out, he's going to be stable. Well, I mean, he's stable now, but he's really getting to know himself. And then when he comes out, he's going to be at the point of comprehension. When he starts talking again, he will be at the point of comprehension. And then he's going to be really, really like talking a lot about this. This is literally how the stages we grow. So then after that, you get into, okay, what is the common denominator of all my dreams? But you're not even thinking about that. You're just like, okay, so now I'm home. And the problem is there's no vocabulary for this, which is where Jim's running into a problem. Is he's trying to talk about it. And he's like, how do you explain this? And everyone is stuck at the sixth ethic. And I got to go back and see where Jim is precisely. I got to watch what he's saying because he's doing a fucking fantastic job. And when you finally go through all the stages, like when you're going through the ethical journey, I'm just going to say it. That's when the spiritual side looks like it looks fake. It looks fake. It is a mockery of the spiritual journey. The ethical journey is what it's supposed to be. And here is the catch-22. You're doing the ethical journey and you're seeing the ethical journey. And then you're looking at the spiritual side of it going, they don't know what they're talking about. They're trying. They can sense it, but they're not even in the journey. And I saw a lot of unethical behavior. I do see a lot of unethical behavior in the spiritual journey. Lot of unethical behavior in the spiritual journey. And I'm sitting here going, what the hell? Like it's a disgrace. And that's when, and this is funny because I don't like to talk about the woke culture because that word is so meat grinded. It's literally been through the meat grinder that no one has the same definition for the word anymore. So there are 8 billion people on the planet. So there are literally 8 billion definitions of the word woke. And I'm at a point where I won't even go near. Every time you meet someone, they say woke, you have to stop them and say, okay, what does this word mean to you now? Because there's 8 billion definitions of woke. I just watched a Budweiser commercial where they quote mock the woke culture. And I'm going to say this. The person who posted the video and said this, that is how he views the woke culture. The people who did the video, that is how they view the woke culture. Now, the funny part is the people in the video who represented the woke culture, I've been in those groups. I was there. There was a woman on the couch with a snake. We had snake people. There's a dude with his guitar and he's got sand in his hand. I had those people in my group. I'm looking at them going, yep. That's how the people on my end did the woke culture thing. And I was there going, no judgment. No judgment. Okay. Not for me. So I left. I call that the oasis. For me, it's the oasis. It is a delusion that you think you're healing when you're not. You can feel it. Yes, your feelings are valid. But your ability to interpret your own feelings, oh, no. That requires logic, vocabulary, physics, a deep education and understanding in that. And those people don't have that. So they're trying to interpret what they're feeling without any of the actual education or tools to do so. So what you're getting is this botched translation. And I'm looking at it going, yeah, that's not going to work for me because I'm a scientist. I prefer the actual definition of things, not hullabaloo. So I left that culture, that community. And I've stepped into it many times. I was back and forth for about 2 years. And then I finally said, no, I cannot do this anymore. And I completely removed myself from it. And last night, this is really one of the big things that came to me is this is the ethical journey. And I felt like I had no choice but to refer to it as the spiritual journey, which didn't feel right. And I was like, I can't call it a spiritual journey. And it's something, what is this? And I realized last night, you're going to have to call it something completely different. You're going to have to distinguish it from what's out there because this is not spirituality. This is ethics. And the thing with the ethical journey is it's genuine. It's authentic. It is truth. And you are here for the pursuit of truth, for the pursuit of Mother Nature, and for the pursuit of the self. You are looking for the 4 fruits. And this is the ethical journey. And as soon as I was able to use the word to distinguish it differently from the spiritual journey, that was a huge freedom for me. I was like, wow, I suddenly can just be myself. I don't have to adhere to their woohoo, I can just walk away from it. And the biggest thing, and this is where it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing. This is where I had my realization of, okay, so what is magic? I'm sitting here studying, looking at magic, reverse engineering that. And I went, it's just math and logic. Oh, look at that. Math plus logic, magic. And then as soon as I had that realization that magic is just math and logic, and I went, magi. That's mathematics. Magic. That's like philosophy, which means pure love. And I'm looking at it going, oh, the signs of pure love is ethics, which is magic, math and logic. So I'm looking at, and then intuition is integrated tuition. And I'm looking at this going, all right, I'm understanding it now. And intuition is pure logic, math, and physics. Magic. It all went full circle last night, and I went, all right. And then I realized I'm a magi, which was amazing. I felt that shift, and I just looked at it and went, all right, I understand what I'm doing now. The game changer, complete game changer. After that, and I dooming like a few minutes later, I had another massive breakthrough with finance and wealth. And when I say wealth, I am referring to ethical wealth. I am referring to spiritual wealth. I don't like the word anymore. I am referring to the essence of wealth. I'm not referring to finance. And I'm referring to wisdom. I'm referring to Asha. So I want all the doors open. And it was great. I literally like, all right, I want all my doors of opportunity opened. Open them all now. So all the doors of opportunity opened. And I literally can look at all the doors now and go, okay, I just need to pick the ones I need. So doors of opportunity are open. And here's the thing is she opened them all right, but they were way up. And I went, oh, I understand. I have to step out of the mud and the squalor which means I have to leave everyone behind. We're back to this again. I choose ethics. And I realized the difference between wealth and poverty is standards. And that's all it is. It's a choice of standards. Where are you going to have your standards? Poverty, they have them all the way at the bottom. They live at the bottom. There's no standards at the poverty level. The wealth are the people who say, no, our standards are high. Now, if you're going to transfer those high standards into material possessions, you failed the lesson. You have to transfer that priority elsewhere into the ethical and the wisdom realm. And I went, oh, so I stepped into the ethical wisdom realm. Well, I live there, so I didn't step into it. And I went, I need to, and it was an immediate moment of, I am committed to the ethics above all else. So I wasn't torn. I wasn't, well, what about my people? It was, no, ethics first. Sorry, guys, ethics first. So it was the first time in my life where I was having to choose between the ethics and everything else. And it was no, I'm doing it. It was amazing. I felt like I did. I passed a test last night. So I stepped into the ethics and I walked into the door and this is the most beautiful. It was me and there were ethics. It's the first time I've talked directly to ethics. And I had this conversation. I'm like, who are you? And ethics responds, ethics. And I'm going, well, I'm love. And I went, but we're the same. Oh, we're the same. So ethics and love are they're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to be. Let me get my Star Trek thing happening here. They're not supposed to be segregated. They're supposed to be in. So logic, ethics, love are supposed to be in. Of course they're supposed. Now I had already integrated logic and love. In my brain, they're one and the same. And this is what I mean. They're one and the same. I had still not integrated ethics into it. I was still looking at ethics as separate. And I went, no, ethics is not separate. Ethics is love. And as soon as I chose ethics, I realized I chose love, real, true love. And I went, oh, that was the trial that I kept missing. So, and then there it was. And suddenly I realized ethics, love, logic, they're all the same thing. And that is what we would call essence. That's the source. So when I had all of this together, I could feel like my power was just running through me. And I'm like, okay, this is what it's about. I need all the doors open, and I need to now just pick the doors I want to go in. And I could see it. It was just this maze of doors. And I was able to go through all of the doors, still picking out sleep seeds in my eyes. I did not sleep well last night because this is the conversation I was having with the universe. And I was able to finally go through and just choose and walk through and go, where am I going to go? What direction am I going to go with this? And I did. And I was just, it was a beautiful thing where there was no barricades. It was just open all the doors, and all the doors were golden. Not golden because it was gold, golden because it was pure light representing Asha and wisdom. Which I think that's where the Bible got confused, is they translated that bright Asha light as gold because they didn't quite understand. And that makes sense to me, because that would have been like a teacher explaining it in parable format. And how do you explain to a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old what you're looking at? Well, it was a bright light like gold. Oh, okay. And that's it. It wasn't gold. It was this majestic yellow. It was just yellow, but this beautiful yellow, pure yellow. I love the color yellow. And it was like silver and yellow merged together. It was just beautiful. And every door was this beautiful yellow. And so I can understand where people would call that gold. And that's where I'm going, yeah, that's definitely lost in translation. So I'm sitting here doing this maze of walking through all these doors. And I'm like, I understand this is how you navigate. And you can't navigate this. You can't even access it until you choose the ethics at the core. You have to put the ethics at the core. And it's funny because we're right back to what Stephen Covey said. Stephen Covey said all of this in seven Habits for Highly Effective People. And he did this whole thing about ethics needs to be your center. And I disagreed with him. And I said to him then, this is now, I said to him when I read the book, well, that's incorrect because the ethics change. And according to Socrates, your archetype has to be stable and constant, but the ethics aren't stable. Anna, yes, they are a constant because you're building a foundation upon all of the ethics, just like you are with the truth. Yeah, you are, aren't you? Therefore, Stephen Covey was right. So it is November 23rd, 2024, and I stand corrected. Stephen Covey was right. The ethics must be at the foundation of who you are. He is 100% right. So now I'm going, okay, because it compounds. And as you learn an ethic, it compounds. It's the journey through to the point of comprehension. And then I realized I need to literally talk about the ethical journey, not the spiritual journey. I need to talk about the ethical journey. I need to teach people about the ethical journey. And I have to show up as I am. So here I am, as I am, talking about the ethical journey. And what's great is I have all these models before me where I can look at when Christ did this and everything he did wrong. And I'm looking at the Buddha and how his information was botched. And I'm looking at how Zarathustra's information was botched. And I got to see, oh, this is fantastic because I got 2 more examples. I got to see Muhammad and how his information got botched. And I also got to see, what's his name, Joseph Smith? I got to see Joseph Smith and got to see how they all botched his information. So I'm like, all right, 5 teachers. Thank you, guys. So I'm not sitting here looking at these 5 teachers going, all right, so here's 5 people. This is what they did when they tried to teach the same goddamn lesson. And I got 5 people who fucked it up. I love you all. I respect you highly. And I'm looking at you guys, and I'm looking at these 5 guys, and I'm going, so you tell me, did they fuck it up or did you guys fuck it up? Because now it's my turn. And I got to figure out which of the 2 of you fucked it up. Because at some point, the message was missed. Because these 5 people 5 times tried to explain this ethical journey. And all 5 of them fucked it up. Or you guys did. What happened? So this is what I've been studying for the last 2 years, is what the hell did these 5 men do when they taught the ethical journey? That everybody for 2,700 years, we're starting with Zarathustra, really missed the fucking boat. And what I love about Zarathustra is I've got 4 people. I've got the Vedic traditions that tried to translate his teachings. I've got Confucius who translated his teachings. I've got Pythagoras who translated his teachings. And I've got the Zoroastrians who translated his teachings. 4 interpretations. And I'm going, wow. That's a lot of data, guys. That's a lot of data. So I've been studying the Vedic traditions, Confucius philosophy with Pythagoras. That's his work. And what's the other guy? I was just looking at him. Zoroastrian. And I'm looking at all four of them going, as for the data points, isn't that great? So I'm looking at the four of them going, well, they did done fucked up. So what the fuck is going on? That these 5 people, one dude with 4 examples, can't get the fucking story right. And then I got Jesus with his 12 disciples, and they did the same damn thing. And I'm going, what the fuck? Now, this is the beautiful part. I got Paul. I got 12 disciples. I got Christ sitting here teaching the exact same thing. I've got 12 disciples translating from Christ. And then I've got Paul who's botching the address. I look, what the fuck, Paul? So I'm looking at it going, how can you fuck this up? Guys, this is easy. It's called an ethical journey. It's an ethical journey. This is not hard. So either these 5 people really fucked it up or everybody else did. Now I got to figure out why, how, when, where, because when it's my turn, I got to figure out how not to fuck it up. And this has been one of those things that's been on my mind when I sit here and I'm doing my peripatetic school. Peripatetic. When I'm doing my peripatetic school and I'm sitting here going, well, how the fuck do I do this? Because I got all these examples of all these geniuses before me who really fucked it up. But did they? Now, I read it and I understood them. I understood all of them. And I'm seeing 5 people with the exact same story. But here's what's going on. Now, Zarathustra is fucking pure. His work is pure. And I did all of my work before I studied him, ironically. So actually, it was done properly because when I studied philosophy, this is the interpretation I got out of philosophy. And then I went, oh, here's all of my ideas. And I showed up as I am, and I got my as I am philosophy. And then I'm sitting here now looking at Zarathustra going, well, you're saying the same thing, and Christ is saying the same thing, and Muhammad is saying the same thing until the very end of his book. What the fuck just happened there? And then I'm looking over at Confucius, and I'm looking at the Vedic traditions, and I'm like, well, I understand what you're all are saying, but why am I the only one who's understanding what you're saying? Because they're all the exact same book. It's got to be a communication error. It's always a communication error. So what the fuck happened in communication? So that's where I went into philology and physics and logic to analyze what the hell is going on there before I can figure out where the fuck the error took place, that I can correct it so that when I say to you, we're talking about an ethical journey here. Kingdom of heaven, this is the kingdom of heaven, dudes. This is totally the kingdom of heavens. Oh yeah, I'm going to totally dude you up here because 80s child. So I'm sitting here looking at this going, oh yeah, like this is it right here. So I'm and it's funny because I have people who send me all these things. They send me these Jesus things, and it's so fucking weird because I'm like, why are you sending me my classmates' material? I was like, it's the dumbest thing. It's the dumbest thing, and it's the dumbest fucking thing that I see. Is people sending me Christ's material. And I'm just like, and it's not even from Christ. It's a bunch of spiritual people trying to translate the ethical journey. So I've got a bunch of esoterics trying to translate what I have mastered. And I'm looking at it going, why? Like, don't send me this shit. I know. And it's like, and this is what I'm getting is I get a lot of people who send me, and this is the gap of comprehension that I'm saying. It's literally a comprehension gap between the exoteric knowledge and the esoteric. And I'm going, I am still failing just like they did. What are we doing wrong, guys? So I'm sitting down now with Zarathustra. I'm sitting down with Christ, Muhammad, and I'm going, what are we missing? What are all of us missing? You know what I love is when you realize that the past, the present, the future all happened at the same time. Suddenly they're here with me and I can sit there and have a conversation with them. It's wonderful. So I'm sitting here like, all right, guys, let's talk about this. Where the fuck are we missing this? Is it our parables? Is it because we're speaking in story and metaphor? It's got to be the metaphors. But also it's because the concept of exoteric and esoteric is not being taught. I think that's a huge point of this. Like at some point, Christ, you should have mentioned something about, oh, BT dub people, you got to make sure you're in the esoteric point of view to make sure you're actually studying it with the right point of view. So the esoteric, you've got the stream, okay? And you're in the stream. So imagine in the stream is literally you in a kayak going down the White Rapids, okay? Now, you can be a spectator watching the thing, telling, oh my God, it was amazing, and he did this, and he did that, and this is the exoteric point of view. Now, the dude who's in the kayak running the White Rapids is going to have a completely different story. Okay, completely different story. And they're going to come out with the esoteric point of view going, dude, I got to tell you what I just did, as opposed to what I just saw. Seer, doer, observer, doer. So exoterics are the observers. The esoterics are the ones who actually do the fucking work. And I'm sitting here like on this journey, and I just went over the rapids in a barrel, man. It was fucking wild. And I've got all these exoterics now telling me what they saw trying to teach me what I just did. And I'm like, really? You know, I wrote the book on this shit, right? You know that, right? And then I've got the ethics over here going, let's evaluate the ethical perspective of this. Good. And you really, and it's a let's sit down and dissect this. The ethics of telling other people you're a fucking idiot and you're not a teacher. Don't come at me like you're a teacher. You're not. You are so fucking far out of my league because you haven't done the fucking work. You haven't even shown up to class. So if you haven't shown up to class, why are you trying to teach the teacher? Boom. And there it is. If you haven't shown up to class, why are you trying to teach the teacher? Now I got to unravel all the ethics of that line. So thank you. And may the kindest of words always find you.